Hello everybody, this is part 2 of the requested form modeling demo. Let's start. In part 1, I've already drawn this shape, however, I'm not really satisfied with the top surface, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild it. But before that, let me just extract some curves from it. So let's say I want this, okay, this, and project this onto the original surface. Okay, and then I'm going to delete this. Okay, and rebuild a new surface. Let me delete this. Let me hide this so that I can concentrate on getting the right curve. So I think I can move this slightly inward. Maybe this will be closer to the actual curve profile. Okay, and let me now mirror this onto the other side. Okay, and to be on the safe side, let's match this curve, set to tangent, average curve. Let me rebuild this thing using rebuild curve non-uniform, and let's move this, set it to perpendicular. This will allow us to get the profiles better. Okay, let's rebuild this again using the surface of network curve. This time around, I'm going to include this into our curve network. Okay, I got something like that. Okay, now let's analyze the surface quality by turning on the zebra. See, the back portion is pretty okay, but there's a bit of discontinuity, so later I need to match this. However, the front portion, this is no good because all the points are converging into a single location. This will cause the discontinuity. So what I'm going to do is I might want to remove this portion and create a new surface that allows for a more smooth continuity over here. Okay, cross a finger that it will work well. But before that, what I'm going to do is match this part here. But before that, let me reduce the control points. Use the remove knots to remove some of the control points around here before I do a matching. Okay, and let's do the same for the bottom part. Let's turn on the control point first. Remove knots. Okay, there's a bit of a waviness over here, so let me do the remove knot again. Okay, it seems to be better now. Okay, now I need to match this. Let's just off away the ISO. Okay, so let's do the match surface. Match this tangent will do. Okay, so now this is matched to curvature. So now we're left with dealing with this portion. What I'm going to do is to split the surface at this point here and then create a new surface here. Okay, what I'm going to do is use the split object to split. Cutting object is this. Okay, so we have two halves here, and let me just hide this first. I need to split this as well to see whether we can get a surface using patch. If the patch doesn't work, we have to think of some other ways of getting it done. Let's do the split. Cutting object. Okay, so we got these three and this. Okay, so let's see whether I can use the patch. If the patch doesn't work, we got to think of another solution. Just use curve first. The patch direction is not ideal, so I'm not going to use patch for this. What I'm going to do is let's bring back our origin surface, and I'm going to extract a few more curves here and use those curves to create a new surface. Okay, I can use this, compress the alt, make a few copies. Okay, and then project this onto this. Okay, now let's hide this. I think I can hide this as well. What I'm going to do is, based on the curves that we have created, create a new surface. Firstly, what I need to do is to extend the curves around here so that when we create our surface, it will be slightly bigger to allow us to produce a kind of trim. Okay, so I have this curve here. Let's extend it using the extend curve. Set it to line. Extend it up to here. Okay, now let's extend these curves and then have them touch here and here so that we can create a surface that's as close as possible to the original. We're going to extend a little bit. Later I'll just trim off the rest and do the same here. Let's set it to line instead. Do the same for this. Looks like I got to extend them a bit further. This as well. Okay, now let's do a trim. Cutting object, object to trim. Cutting object, object to trim. Okay, let's mirror this to the other side. Join them. Now we got too much control points. Let's review. Using review curve non-uniform. I reckon that this curve actually deviates too much. So let's see what we can get by using only these three curves. Okay. Let's do a loft. One, two, three. Let's turn on the control points. Okay, it's pretty clean with not much of our control points. Okay, let me project this curve onto this surface to see how far our deviation is. But before that, let me extend this surface a bit. Okay, something like that. And let's project this curve onto here to see how much the deviation is. Check to here. Oh, you can see that deviation is actually pretty small. So that means to say, except for this portion here, which what I can do is to move the points down, okay, to get it to match better. Do is let's delete this, click the record history, and do the project again. It's going to project this curve onto this surface, and then let's turn on the points. And move them and look at the projected curves to see how far we can get them to close up in terms of the deviation. I think this is pretty close now. Okay, there's only like very slight deviation. So what I'm going to do is let's just move a few more points, get everything to match up nicely. Okay, I think the result is actually pretty close. Let's do a bit of matching. Okay, as you can see, these two surfaces are not matched at all. So what I need to do is I need to match this to that. But let's turn on control points to make sure that we have enough points that space far enough for a good match to occur. So yep, let's do the match surface, match this to this, and set to curvature. Let's do the preserve isocurve direction. If I set, let's see what happens if I set to tangent. Tangent seems to give pretty good result as well. I think I'll just stick to tangent. Okay, so you can see that we have matched the surface and we can trim off the excesses. Okay, what I'm going to do is let's remove some of the curves. Mirror this onto the other side. And trim off the excess. To not confuse you, let me just hide this stuff so that you can see the trims. So I'm going to click the trim. Cutting object is this, and this object to trim is this. Oops. Okay, yep. So we'll trim off, and I guess I can do a better match over here. So what I'm going to do is let's turn on the control points for this, and you can see that it's extending the surface control points. Let's reduce the control point until it's here by using this shrink trim surface to edge. See, now we got less control points, and I want to still do a match here. So but there's too much control points here, so let's use the remove knots to reduce the points over here. We can reduce it further. Okay. Okay, and now let's do a match again. What I'm going to do is let's just hide the curves. Match surface, match this to this. Oops, cancel. Wrong command. Match surface, match this to this, and let's set to tangent, but average curvature. Guess I can reduce one more row of points here. Remove knots. Okay, let's match it one more time. Tangent will do. Okay. Yep. Let's see whether we can continue to further improve the continuity over here. I want to add more points here using the insert knot. Add more constraints over here. I'm going to remove the points that are closer here so that I can do a further matching using remove knots. Okay, let's see whether we can match this better now. Set the curvature now. Okay, and the pinching is gone over here. In theory, I should do the same for the bottom part. You can see that for the bottom part where the points converge, there's a kind of a pinching over here because of the converging of the points. Okay, so we should do the same for this part in a way that we are done for this part. I'm not going to bore you with similar processes. Okay, you can see over here there's no pinching, and here there are, you can see over here. Okay, so with that I come to the end of this part. See you, bye.